Hello and welcome back to the AA NBA podcast. I'm your host, Aiden Hammond.
And I'm Aditya.
And today, we got some power rankings and some NBA news, but let's first off start out with power rankings. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? What do you want to do?
I can take the lead on this one.
Okay.
At number 5, I got the Los Angeles Clippers. They fell a little bit from last week. They were at 4. They went 2-2 this week, but they lost to the Nets and Celtics, and they beat the Knicks and Cavs. So they were able to beat the bad teams, but, they couldn't beat any of the good teams they played this week, even though Paul George and Kawhi have been playing well. And I do want to say, there's been a lot of media recognition for Paul George, and it's really funny because it's like everyone's, where are the haters now? Paul George playing like an MVP candidate, and all the haters are silent.
The haters are waiting for the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
When he inevitably collapses because he sucks.
And I want to say, I'm not a Paul George hater. I know, Aiden, you do not like Paul George. But, I don't hate Paul George, but, people got to relax on that a little bit, I think.
Yeah, you're only setting him up for failure when you say stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I said this in the group chat last night, but, when the people that are going overboard with the Paul George love right now, he's not going to be able to back it up when you get to the playoffs, so it's pointless to just say anything right now.
Yeah. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is Milwaukee. Milwaukee had some very good wins this week. They're second in the East right now, but they're not better than the Sixers, and they're not better than 3 Western Conference teams. They had a good week this week, though. They had a wire-to-wire win against a pretty good Pacers team. They beat the shit out of a good Portland team on Monday. They did get beat by Charlotte last Saturday, so they went 2-1, but they cracked the top 5 this week. Oh, yeah, they did, because they beat the Cavs last night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they went 3-1. Pretty good week for them.
Yep.
But a lot of beating up on bad or middling teams, and then 1.5 good win. Because I don't know if I think Portland had Dame, and that's it. Because I don't think they have McCollum or Nurkic right now.
Yeah, they don't. You done with your number 5?
Yeah.
All right, my number 4 is actually the Bucks. You kind of covered everything. They've been playing well, but like you said, they've been beating up on some mid-tier teams. They haven't really played anyone super crazy in this last week, so it's kind of hard to rate them. But in terms of record, that's going to be a pretty consistent theme, I feel like, with these power rankings throughout the season. And we'll talk about this a little bit later, but the top teams in the East and West are kind of staying like that. The top 3 in each conference changes a little bit, but for the most part, it's going to be the same teams, just maybe a different order. Yeah. Because I don't see any teams really overtaking those guys. So
both conferences are fairly top heavy, honestly, this year.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you pretty much covered everything that I needed to say for the Bucks. Okay.
My number 4 is the Clippers. It was pretty 50-50 this week, honestly. I would say 4A is the Sixers and 4B is the Clippers.
You mean the
Sixers
Bucks?
had the worst? No, I mean the Clippers.
Oh, I thought you said the Sixers.
Yeah, I said the Sixers and the Clippers.
Oh.
The Sixers, just spoiler alert, they're 3 for me.
Gotcha.
But because the Sixers had by far the worst loss of any team this week. They lost to a Portland team with Gary Trent as the best player. So that was a bad loss. That was a really bad loss. And I get it, they didn't have Simmons, but they had Harris and Embiid. They should have beaten that team easily. But they only went 2-1. The Clippers went 2-2. They beat the bad teams. You pretty much got it. They beat the bad teams and they lost to the good teams. Even though they had 2 very close games, they lost by 4 in each loss, and they won by 14 or more in each of their wins. But if they had won one of those games against the the Nets and the Celtics, they would definitely be above the Sixers. But it just wasn't quite enough for me to put them above either of those teams.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I got them 4.
All right, my number 3 is the Lakers. They went 3-0 this week. They beat the Celtics, Hawks, and Nuggets. So it's 3 pretty good wins, honestly. All 3 of those teams are in the playoffs right now. But I know you said you had the Sixers at 3, but I had the Sixers a little higher just because last week the Lakers were completely off my top 5. So I felt like
that's fair.
jumping them up to number 2 was a bit premature.
That's fair. So I already said it. The Sixers are 3 for me. They beat 2 playoff teams. I mean, the Hornets and Pacers are both playoff teams. They had a very good comeback win against the Pacers. And then they lost to a really bad Portland team. So that's why they weren't higher. Really, I already said it, but they're about with the Clippers. It's pretty neck and neck right now. I just had to give them the edge because they honestly just had, it was just that they played less games and had one less loss.
Yeah. So my number 2 is the Sixers. They didn't have a great week. I mean, obviously you noted it. They lost to the Blazers, which is a bad loss. I mean, they didn't have Dame, CJ, or Nurkic for that one, right? I think it was just pretty much their secondary. So, that was a bad loss. But they did beat the Pacers and the Hornets, and they're still the top team in the East right now. So I do have to keep them up here.
Yeah. Number 2, I have the Lakers. They had a very impressive 3-0 this week. They beat 2 teams that I would say are in title contention right now, the Nuggets and the Celtics. They really handled the Nuggets, quite frankly. They beat them by 21. They beat the Celtics in a very close game last Saturday, but still a win's a win. And then the Hawks are contending for a playoff spot. I think they've fallen off a little bit, but I still think that they are top 10 in the East.
They're a 6 seed right now.
Oh yeah, they are the 6 seed. Okay, so yeah, they're pretty much right there. They're another playoff team, even though they're below 500. But that's 3, I would say, very quality wins for the Lakers this week. 3-0. LeBron's playing well. Anthony Davis is playing well. The bench is playing well. They're really spreading the wealth with scoring. They had against the Hawks, they had 5 players in double figures. Against the Nuggets, let me look. They had 7 players in double figures, including Talen Horton-Tucker, who had 17. So this is a very good Lakers team, but they're not the hottest team in the league right now.
One thing to note with the Lakers is that Anthony Davis has not been playing very well.
He hasn't, but he played well this week.
Yeah, I mean, at least in terms of shot volume, he's not taking many shots.
Yeah.
But yeah. Number 1.
You want to say it at the same time?
Sure.
3, 2, 1.
The Jazz.
Sexlands. Damn it.
I didn't know we were doing a bit there.
Well, I mean, yeah. That's fair.
It's okay. The Jazz are number 1. They lost their 11-game win streak to the Nuggets, but then they won 3 in a row right after. They're still the top team.
Yeah.
They have the best record in the league. Everyone's playing out of their minds on that team. I don't remember where I saw this. I can't remember if it was Instagram or YouTube, but it was a thing that was the Jazz are taking so many three-pointers, and they're still one of the best three-point shooting teams in the league by percentage. It's incredible.
Everything is going right for the Jazz right now. This feels like a team that's going to fall off and be a 3 or a 4 seed, though, just because it's they're not going to keep up this clip all season. It feels impossible. And even if it was the Warriors, I would probably be saying something different. I think it's just because it's Utah, and Utah, even if Utah gets hot, they never stay hot. Yeah. So I don't know. I want Utah to prove me wrong. I want them to be very good. I want Donovan Mitchell to win MVP, baby.
I want Donovan Mitchell to win the Larry O'Brien
MVP, Finals
trophy.
MVP. Yeah. But it doesn't really feel super sustainable right now.
Well, the reason for that is because the Jazz historically have, not historically, I guess since they got Donovan Mitchell, have really never been higher than, the 4 seed.
Yeah. And last year, they just straight up collapsed in the playoffs.
Exactly. So, they're good now, but, I mean, obviously nobody has faith that they'll keep the 1 seed. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe they thrive in that underdog mentality. Who knows?
Yeah. They're 18-5, and they're still, I think if you ask most people would say they're, the 4th best team in the West.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and you're definitely spot on there. They kind of thrive on that. Rudy Gobert loves to be underrated. He's just kind of one of those guys.
Dude,
Donovan Mitchell.
Maybe this was Shaq's plan all along. He attacks
Maybe
Rudy
that was
Gobert,
it, yeah.
says Donovan Mitchell's not at that level yet because he knows that that's what they need to be a really good team.
Or maybe Shaq just hates the Jazz and
Yeah, maybe that's true.
and is threatened by good young players for whatever reason. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the Jazz. They're super fun this year though. And they are the best team in the league right now. They're very hot. They lost to a good Nuggets team, but then they bounced back. They had they blew out 3 bad teams basically, but they still blew them out. That's still an impressive win.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that sort of segues us into another topic. I know we briefly talked about it while we were doing the power rankings, but the league is really top heavy right now. In the West, the top 3 seeds, it goes 18-5, 17-6, 17-7, and then the 4 seed drops down to 12-9, and then it stays like that to the bottom.
Yeah, I would say that there are, like most years, there are probably 3, I would say that there are 4 teams in the West that could legitimately contend for a title right now, and 4 teams in the East that could legitimately contend for a title right now. And it's the first 4 in both conferences. I think the Jazz, Lakers, Clippers, and Nuggets are the only teams that are really, I would say, well-equipped to make a title run right now. And then the Sixers, Bucks, Nets, and Celtics are the teams in the East that are well-equipped to make a title run right now.
Yeah,
but you got a good point about the very top heavy. It feels like from the 6 down to the through the 6 through the 11 could all realistically be the 5 seed right now. Or I'm sorry, the 5 through 11 in the East could all realistically be the 5 seed. I think.
Yeah.
Maybe not the Magic or the Knicks,
or
but I
Cavs.
think that the Cavs, if they got hot, or the Hornets if they got hot, or the Raptors or the Hawks, I don't know. It's a very weird year. And then the Blazers and Suns and Warriors all feel like they're a runaway from being a top 5 team in that division or in that conference.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just strange because there's
Still
always yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Uh-oh.
That's not good.
Where's Aditya?
We're experiencing some technical
I lost
difficulties.
Aditya.
Are you there?
Aditya, you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I lost you for some reason. I don't know. I didn't even close out of the app.
I don't know. I could hear you fine, but I guess you couldn't hear me.
Wow.
That's fine. What I was saying was, usually there will be 1 or 2 teams in each conference that runs away, but everyone else is still somewhat close. But it doesn't even feel like it this year. The top 3 in the West are far and away better by record than every other team in that conference.
Yeah. It's 17 wins versus 12 wins.
Yeah. And then another thing that I wanted to talk about, while we were on the topic of old players feeling bitter at young players, there is a lot of shade being thrown at Luka Doncic this past week.
Well, that wasn't a player. Who was it? It was
Well, there was 2 things. There was, I think it was Mark Spears or something. Well, that's his name or something.
Yeah,
that was
Mark Spears.
Yeah, he was saying something about how Luka just flops all the time and he just doesn't stop whining or whatever. But then there was
saying that he whines and that it's also detrimental to his team, and you can see it changes the morale, which is the most ridiculous load of bullshit I've ever heard.
Yeah, but there was another thing. I forget who said it, but it was if you want to win a championship, Luke is good, but I want someone better like Bradley Beal.
Oh yeah, it was Shaq.
Yeah.
Shaq was I would want Bradley Beal or Russell Westbrook over Luka Doncic right now.
Yeah, which is strange because they're both on the same team and are the 14 seed. Which I guess the Mavs are the 14 seed too, but they have 5 more wins.
Yeah, it's the 14 seed in the West versus the 14 seed in the East this year are very different things.
Yeah, and Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook are on the same team with 5 wins, so that's Shaq's whole super
that team is
right
horrid.
There. Yeah. And that was another thing too. I think it was Charles Barkley that said it. he was just like, yeah, I hate watching the NBA right now. Like, the product that's being put out there is terrible or something like that. So, like, it's a bunch of disrespect towards the NBA right now. A lot of people are unhappy with it.
I've even said this before. I would like if there was some defense being played sometimes, but there are defensive teams. Like,
yeah,
especially in the last year or so, teams are playing a lot of very good defense. It's not like 2 years ago when teams were scoring 140 points pretty consistently. Yeah. Like, I remember a couple years ago, a very bad Nets team and a good Pacers team, but a more defensively oriented Pacers team combined for like 300 points. That doesn't happen anymore. Like, even in 2 years,
well, there was
the defense
that one
has gotten
game,
significantly better.
I forget, was it? I think the Bulls were part of it, or maybe it was the Hawks that were part of it. But it was like, no, it was the Wizards and Hawks, I think.
It was the Wizards and the Hawks.
Yeah, and they put up like 300 combined points.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. But, like, that's not every night. Like, the Lakers-Celtics game, those are two very good teams. That's a potential finals preview. It was 96-95. Like,
yeah.
There are nights where teams don't reach 100, and those teams also have something in common. They're very good defenses. Like, they have very good defensive players. Yeah, they're contending for championships because of defense. So, Charles, just say that you're watching, like, the Timberwolves and the Wizards and the Pistons and the Bulls. If you want to say that, like, just say that, because that's what you're telling us. You're telling us you're not watching the best teams if you're saying that there's no defense being played, or if the product is bad or whatever. Like, the product has been great this year. I watched the Pacers game last night, and it was a pretty fucking good game. Like, Zion was great, Brandon Ingram was great, T.J. McConnell was incredible, which was weird because he's usually good. He's usually a very important bench piece, but he accounted for like half the Pacers' points or something through assists, which was bizarre. I watched a game between a team that is like struggling for a playoff spot in the West and a team that's like pretty decent in the East, and it was a good game. So I don't know what the product issues are.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a lot of it is like, I mean, they're not playing right now, so they see what's coming out right now is inferior to what it was when they played.
Yeah, but I don't get it because Bill Russell doesn't say shit like that. Like, even Kareem doesn't say shit like that. It's only the guys that like played in the 90s. I don't really understand it. Maybe because they've had the narrative that the 90s are
Golden
the best
age.
Era of basketball of all time for years now.
But Shaq, I mean, he played in the 90s, but he played mostly in the 2000s, like late 90s, early 2000s.
His best years were from like
Jordan
2000
left.
to 2004.
Yeah, after Jordan left and like people stopped caring about basketball for a little while.
Yeah. Like, if you want to say that you don't like fast-paced basketball, just say that. But, like...
The problem is you can't bash fast-paced basketball and also bash the good bigs in the league. Like Rudy Gobert.
Like, you can't bash fast-paced basketball and then say also that Rudy Gobert sucks. Like, because Rudy Gobert is one of the slowest-paced centers in the league.
If you hate the high-scoring league and then you bash one of the best defensive centers in the league, it doesn't make sense.
And now, I guess that was Shaq. That wasn't Charles.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess I think Charles was defending Rudy.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like sounds like they're watching the wrong teams if they genuinely think that the product being put out by the NBA right now, just in terms of games, is inferior to what it was last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
If anything, it's better because we actually, like, for once, we don't know who's going to win the championship. Like, you can say, like, oh, yeah, the Lakers are great top to bottom, but you can also say that about, like, 5 other teams.
Yeah, and I mean, all of the top teams have beaten and lost to each other.
Yes.
Like, the Sixers have beat the Lakers. The Clippers have beat the Lakers, but the Lakers have beat both those teams, obviously, and people know that they're probably better, but they still have those losses.
Yeah, the Jazz have beat the Nuggets, and I think the Nuggets the Nuggets beat the Jazz, and I think the Jazz have beaten the Nuggets too.
Yeah.
Like, we are probably going to be able to get a circle of parity this year in the league.
Which is nice. It's nice.
Which is always a good thing.
It's good. I think we were going to have that last year. The problem was, like, this year everybody's healthy. So all the teams that were supposed to be good last year are at full health. Yeah, the Pacers they're never healthy though. I mean, having like 3 injuries only is basically healthy for the Pacers.
Yeah.
Like,
if you have like an injury to a bench player and like a starter has a lingering injury but they can play, that's like really great for the Pacers.
Yeah, that's as healthy as it gets for the Pacers.
Yeah.
But
so yeah, what else we got?
Another thing I wanted to talk about, sort of while we're on the topic of parity in the league, there's a game, I think it's tonight, 76ers versus Nets, that I am very looking forward to, because
we're going to be watching that game in the Xbox.
The Nets have the worst post defense I've ever seen, but there's also a chance Joel Embiid doesn't play. So
Joel's going to go for 60 if he plays.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is like, we also, I guess, dude, this episode's full of segues. I guess this takes us into another thing, which is like the NBA's COVID protocol is very controversial right now, to say the least.
Dude, Kevin Durant got... Okay, I know that I've been a Kevin Durant hater in the past. I've started to kind of like him a little more this year just because he's not constantly like being an asshole to the media. Yeah, I don't hate him anymore. And he's pretty funny on Twitter. But I can put away my anti-Kevin Durant bias aside and say that he has gotten completely fucked over the last 24 hours.
That was so dumb.
It's ridiculous. First of all,
so for anyone that doesn't know what happened, let's lay it down for you. So there was some suspicion around.
Fully know what happened.
Here, I'll lay it down. So there was a possible thing that like Kevin Durant might have had contact, like he might have been around someone that had COVID, but they weren't completely sure because I guess they hadn't tested that other person yet. And it was like a thing where it's like, all right, if we can get this test done and processed before game time, you're good to play. Then like halfway through the first quarter, they're like, it's probably all right, you can go play because it's a nationally televised game and the NBA likes money. And then like halfway through the game, they're like, yeah, Kevin, you can't play anymore, even though he tested negative. Like, he could have done 3-4 different tests. They all come back negative. They were like, yeah, you can't play. Come back. Which is dumb because, like, then why send him out in the first place? If you want him to play because it's a nationally televised game and you want money, then let him play. Because at that point, he's already been out with everyone on the court. If he had COVID, they all have COVID now. Like,
just let him fucking finish the game.
Yeah, and he tested negative, too. Like, I'm pretty sure there was a negative test. So, like, I don't understand. And then on top of that, they were being super careful about, that whole incident, which is fine, I guess. Like, maybe you can't make up your mind, but you did what you think is the best idea. Then why the fuck are we having an all-star game? And why are you letting players travel across the country at their own free will during that week?
Before we get into that, because that is another very good segue. Kevin Durant got completely fucked. I saw a tweet, like, he also lost his 10-point streak because he didn't play long enough, which I don't think players really care about that unless it's, like, a huge milestone, like when LeBron passed Michael Jordan a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But that still is, like, a shitty thing, and... Hold on. Kevin Durant already had COVID in March. And I know that there are new studies coming out. I had to get really close to the mic for that, so sorry for doing that when you're editing. But, I know that there are conflicting studies coming out, but the general thing that's kind of been accepted is you have those antibodies for like 6 or 7 months. So, which I guess it's been 11 now. But still, like if you get a false positive and then you test negative, I don't know. This is so confusing. It's ridiculous. And then Kevin Durant tweeted "Free me," and that was hilarious.
That was pretty good, yeah.
I don't understand why the NBA is being so... Like, the NBA is being very careful about this, and I respect it.
The problem, and I guess, dude, the segues are on point with this episode.
Yeah, so now we can get into the All-Star weekend.
Yeah, they're being careful. So, the NBA decided they're having an All-Star game in March, and they said they're letting players travel across the country during that break and do whatever they want. Which is stupid, because they're not letting players have family over for the Super Bowl.
Do you know how fucking big the country is?
Yeah, very large. There's a lot of
It would be safer if you were going to let them travel worldwide because, like, pretty much everywhere except America has got this shit figured out. Like, why are you...
Yeah.
Let's say somebody's like, I'm going to go visit family in Texas. Okay, well, I mean, if you went...
And
if a player from, like, let's say there's a player in Portland who's like, I'm going to go to Texas, which Texas is, like pretty much every other state, fucked right now. If you're going to let them do that, why not also let them go to New Zealand if they get it tested? Because New Zealand has it. New Zealand is pretty much back to business as usual right now. I don't understand why they're like, yeah, you can go anywhere in America, but you can't go to these other countries where it is safer to be.
And it's not even like that is bad enough on its own. But another problem is like just the hypocrisy of it all, because I feel like the NBA can't decide what's more important between money and making sure their players are safe, because they're making sure that their star player, who they don't know if he has COVID or not, they make sure he gets out there on a nationally televised game, but then pull him halfway through because they can't make up their mind. Then they want to have this all-star game in the middle of the pandemic in Atlanta, which is a COVID hotspot, by the way.
Yeah,
in Atlanta,
it's fucking Georgia. Anywhere
but
in the Midwest or the South right now, or the Northeast, anywhere in America right now is a bad place to congregate.
Exactly. So they're having this all-star game so they can make money, but if you're an NBA player, you can't have your aunt and uncle over for the Super Bowl. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Which, like, I mean, hey, if you don't want players to have Super Bowl parties, cool. Don't let them. Like, find them if they do that. But then also, don't be like, hey, we're going to take people from potentially 30 different spots in the country, them all come to one place, and
the problem
fucking hang out for a week.
It is the All-Star Game is a congregation of the best basketball players in the league. If you have all of the, like, if one person there has COVID and every single top player in the entire league has to sit out, do you realize the chaos that will ensue? Like, the league will shut down for a few weeks. There's no other option.
Yeah, you'll have to. If the Lakers don't have LeBron and Anthony Davis, the Clippers don't have Kawhi and Paul George, the Nets don't have all three of their best players.
The All-Star Game is going to have Kawhi and Paul George, LeBron and AD, the Nets' big three, Joel Embiid, probably not Ben Simmons because he hasn't been very good, Giannis and Chris Middleton.
Maybe Tobias Harris, though.
Probably. I don't know if he'll get the votes, honestly. But, like, you'll have
he
Giannis,
probably
you'll
won't,
have Pascal,
but, like, I mean,
like Jokic, you'll have every
Sabonis.
single top player in the league.
You might have Zion, you might have Brandon Ingram.
You'll have Dame, you'll have Steph Curry, like, you'll have all of these.
You'll have one of Gobert or Mitchell.
Yeah. And the problem is, like, you have not only will it screw over these teams that are like the 6-7 seed trying to make a playoff push, like the Warriors and the Blazers and stuff. Not only are they screwed because their best player is going to be out, but, like, the top, like, no one's going to watch a nationally televised game between the Lakers and the Nets if 5 of the best players on the entire court aren't playing.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, because, like, yeah, if there was an outbreak there, they would lose so much revenue because they would just have to straight up cancel, like, 2 weeks' worth of games.
Exactly.
There's no way those games get played if the Nets with a big three of Joe Harris, DeAndre Jordan, and Jeff Green are playing against fucking Talen Horton-Tucker and Alex Caruso.
Yeah, and they're already on a tight schedule right now because they don't want to collide with the Olympics. But, like, if you have to because they're already postponing a bunch of games, and now if you have to shut down the league for 2, possibly 3 weeks,
exactly,
you're not going to finish the season.
Yeah, the NBA is setting themselves up for a disaster with All-Star Weekend, which I guess we should just use that to segue into all of the quotes about All-Star Weekend. The segues, dude. I would say that the 3 best players in the league right now, 3 of the 4, I guess, because Kevin Durant is up there too. But Kawhi Leonard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and LeBron James all came out this week and called out the NBA for its bullshit.
And I guess this also shows a bit of the influence that LeBron has, because he said, like, you know, it's a bad idea. I don't think we should do it. Like, I'll be there physically, but I don't really care about it. And then Giannis was like, yeah, LeBron said it, so we shouldn't do it.
Yeah, Giannis just straight up he said the words, yeah, we should go with Big Dog here.
Yeah,
like he was... And he was right. They should go with Big Dog because Big Dog has been in the league for he's been the best player in the league for like 15 years now. He knows what he's talking about. He knows what the players want. Yeah. And he knows that the players don't want to play All-Star Weekend because it is a bad idea.
It's a bad idea. Everybody knows it's a bad. I feel like Adam Silver knows it's a bad idea. He's just doing it.
Yeah. Okay. So Giannis, here's the direct quote from Giannis, and then the direct quote from Kawhi. So Giannis first. We gotta all follow the big dog LeBron. The big dog says he has zero excitement, zero energy for the All-Star game. I'm the same way. I really, right now, don't care about the All-Star game. So what Giannis is basically saying is, yeah, we're going to go with LeBron anyway, but also I'm going to use my influence as the back-to-back MVP of the league and say, I also don't care. I agree with LeBron. And then Kawhi says essentially the same thing. We all know why we're playing it. There's money on the line. There's opportunity to make more money. Just putting money over health right now, pretty much.
Yeah.
Kawhi, same thing. So that is 3 of the 4 best players in the league that are like,
Kevin
yeah,
Durant's
we shouldn't
already
play the All-Star
visibly
game.
upset by the NBA protocol, so
Exactly.
put the top 4 players.
I would not be surprised if Kevin Durant came out and said, I agree with all 3 of these guys. And then Chris Paul, who is the head of the Players Association, is also probably going to have to say something.
Yeah. Nobody thinks this is a good idea, NBA. Nobody.
Yeah. Like, the NBA has...
Especially if you're going to have something like this, don't do it in fucking Atlanta. Do it in, like, Alaska or something.
Yeah, if you really want to have a bubble, but then you also have to give everybody, like, a month off, which you can't do because you have to do, like, a week and a half of quarantining before All-Star Weekend, or 2 weeks of quarantining before just All-Star Weekend, and then 2 weeks of quarantining afterward, which, like, that's going to lose more revenue than All-Star Weekend's going to bring in.
And
even though
the inevitable fact that you're going to have to shorten the schedule even more to fit it in before the Olympics, you're losing even more money. Nobody cares about the All-Star game. Last year's was good because it commemorated Kobe, but nobody cares. Like, nobody cares about it.
Well, actually, I don't know about that. The NBA got an awful lot of praise for the All-Star Weekend last year, because the NBA already had, like, the best All-Star Weekend by default because baseball's is, like, whatever, like, outside of the home run derby. The Pro Bowl is trash, and then nobody really cares about hockey either. So the NBA already kind of by default had a good All-Star Weekend.
But nobody cares about All-Star Weekend, like, in the NBA fandom anyway. Like, again, last year's was cool because the players gave full effort, but if you think every single player is going to go out there and play like it's the championship in this year's All-Star game with all the conditions, it's not happening. Like,
yeah. If the NBA really wanted to do All-Star Weekend, I guess they do, but if the NBA wanted to have a safe All-Star Weekend, they wouldn't be doing it in fucking Atlanta right now. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. No, I don't know what... The main thing is, it's like, I mean, what was the quote that said it? Was it Kawhi that said, like, they're putting money over the players' health? Like,
yeah, they're putting money over health right now, which is absolutely true.
Yeah, which sucks because just for last season, we're talking about how well the NBA takes care of its players.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like,
it's something that the players need to call out, though, because
100%.
You know, when the NBA gets out of line with this sort of stuff, the players need to have a say in this because they're who makes the money.
Yeah, the NBA is notoriously a players' league. If all the players say something, the NBA will listen.
Yeah. Exactly. And the other thing with this is that last year's All-Star Weekend is popular because of the fun shit. Like, right, like the dunk contest, the three-point contest, the skills challenge. People watch that shit. Are you telling me that you're going to bring in more players
Yeah, exactly.
to do the dunk contest and that shit? Like, because they're not just going to do the All-Star game. They're going to do all of All-Star Weekend, which is bringing in more players.
None of the players that are in the All-Star game are going to do the three-point contest or the dunk contest. You got to bring in, like, maybe Dame will do, like, the three-point contest. But, like, other than that, you're going to have to bring in
Maybe Dame does the three-point
players.
contest, and if Zach LaVine gets an All-Star nod, he might do the dunk contest. Maybe.
I thought he retired from
that,
dunk contesting.
Yeah, he did, but I think if they were like, hey, can you please do this as a favor, he would. Maybe. I don't know. But regardless, it's still like they're just going to have to bring in more players to make those contests more exciting, because the other thing is people don't want to watch, like, you know, the best of the best players do. That's part of what makes, like, the skills challenge and the dunk contest and the three-point contest exciting, is it's not just the best players. Like, they'll bring in Joe Harris, who's never been an All-Star and is probably never going to be an All-Star, and he'll win the three-point contest, and that's fun.
Yeah.
Because, like, you just see how good of a shooter he is. Or, like, Hamidou Diallo, who's, like, barely cracking the rotation on a bad Thunder team.
But he can dunk real cool.
He can dunk good. He dunk cool.
Yeah.
So he's going to do it.
And another problem, too, like, I know the NBA, like, the season so far has been fine without fans. I want to, like, having a dunk contest without that huge group of people in the background going crazy, just having them do dunks in an empty gym is going to be pathetic. Because
we don't need fans, but, like, having the players with all their phones out and, like, just leaning on each other and, like, freaking out.
The dunk contest is the one thing you need fans for, or at least a large group of people to react for.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. Yeah. Enough of that.
Enough about All-Star Weekend.
Yeah, it's sad. Moving on. Lamelo Ball is finally a starter, and he is popping off. He is insane.
Yeah, he's been incredible. Yeah. It took James Borrego long enough to be like, maybe I should start the guy we drafted 3rd overall. I mean, I kind of get why he didn't. Yeah, whoa. But, like, he's already one of their 5 best players. I would say maybe one of their 3 best players. He's just been crazy good.
Yeah.
He's just been really good.
In his... Hold on, I'm checking to see, like, which game specifically he started. Because I know... Okay, yeah, so I think in his first start, that was the game Malik Monk dropped, like, 40 points or something crazy.
Yeah.
But then after that, he had 22 points, and then most recently, which was yesterday against the Jazz, unfortunately they did lose the game, but LaMelo had 34 and 8 and 4. Very insane stat line.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. At least he's starting now. I guess better late than never. But if he keeps playing like this, he's Rookie of the Year. I don't think either of us had him as our winners last week. But
no, last week I kind of just straight up forgot about him.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he's my first in the East right now, I would say, and I would say Halliburton's my first in the West.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know the way Anthony Edwards has been playing recently.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards has been great, too. This rookie class has been good. Patrick Williams popped off last night. He's been good this year. A lot of good players.
Yeah. What did Patrick Williams finish with? I didn't end up watching that game.
I don't know. I think he had like 45 fantasy points. I think he had like 26 and 2 or something, maybe.
Oh, not bad.
But that was in the 4th quarter with some time to go.
Yeah. All right, so that's enough about that. Next up. Unfortunate injury. Christian Wood is sidelined. He's week to week with a sprained ankle. So not bad. He got carted off, which made it look a lot worse than it actually was. But it's just an ankle sprain, and he'll be out for a few weeks. And I kind of wanted to talk about this Rocket team because they're intriguing. They're like the ultimate underdog team.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a team of cast-offs from other teams.
Yeah, they got.
Victor Oladipo cast himself off, but
Victor Oladipo, dude.
Boogie.
Then when Vic was talking all that stuff about how teams gave up on him and stuff, I was like, no, we didn't.
Dude, shut the fuck up. Nobody gave up on you.
Traded.
Go fuck yourself.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but other than
Patrick Williams had 27, 1, and 2 steals on 7 of 11 from the field, so super efficient.
Pretty good.
Well. Yeah.
But on top of Boogie, he had a torn ACL and Achilles in the same leg, I believe. He had that terrible finals performance with the Warriors. He got cut by the Lakers, and now he's playing on the Rockets. John Wall coming back from that injury. He's been playing really well, actually. He doesn't play many games, but in the ones he does play, he plays well. And then on top of that, I feel like after James Harden left, people just kind of are like, yeah, the Rockets don't matter anymore. But
people forgot about the Rockets.
They're pretty solid. They'd be they're the 10 seed right now. They'd be a little bit higher, but the Grizzlies are higher than them because they're 9 and 8, so they played 4 less games. But the Rockets,
they have a better winning percentage.
Yeah, right. They have a better winning percentage. But the Rockets are in that playoff hunt.
Yeah, they are. They would be in the play-in tournament right now if the season ended. They are cool. I can't like them because Victor Oladipo's there, but the rest of the team is pretty cool. Like Christian Wood's pretty cool. We both just straight up forgot about him for most improved player, by the way.
Yeah.
Like John Wall's fucking awesome. Boogie's good. Their coach is like a first-year coach. No head coaching experience at the NBA level. Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of a fun team. So, and that's a good segue into something that I think we both forgot about until we were recording. The Rockets are looking to potentially move Victor Oladipo again.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I saw a couple reports this week that the Rockets are potentially looking to move Victor Oladipo with. I didn't see anything from. I don't know if Woj or Shams tweeted it. I just saw this. It was somebody from somewhere else, but so it might not. I mean, straight up, it might not be true, but I've seen it a couple different places. Let me try to find it on League Alerts.
I mean, I didn't know that was even a thing. Because I mean, is he a free agent this offseason, or is it?
Yeah, he's a free agent.
Okay, so that might be why. But like, he's been pretty good this season, all things considered. Like even when he was on the Pacers, he was playing pretty well, and now on the Rockets, he is like their best player. So, I mean,
okay, yeah. So from Tim Bontemps 2 days ago,
our
the Rockets
boy
could
Tim
potentially
Bontemps.
Let's go, Timmy, with the big news. The Rockets could potentially trade Victor Oladipo. So, yeah, that's very big news, I would say, because Landon Buford in the comments, he's verified. I don't know what he does. Oh, he's a journalist. Okay, yeah, he's a sports journalist. It looks like he covers Western Conference teams a lot. But he said if he is traded, the Knicks or Heat are possible places. So basically the two places that he's been rumored to for like a year now.
Yeah.
Basically. The Knicks and the Heat. What would you say a trade package for Victor is like? Because he is a free agent. I would say the Heat are like the only place that I could see him re-signing with if he's traded.
The problem with the Heat is they're terrible right now. So
yeah, the Heat are really bad.
Yeah, they're like the 13th seed. So obviously they need to make some changes of some kind. I know Jimmy just got back, so like that whole thing is kind of iffy, but like they haven't been very good. But like they're obviously not going to trade Jimmy. They're not going to trade Bam. Harrell, yeah, he's been like on and off. Like when he plays, he's fine, but he's been like on and off with like injuries and stuff.
Yeah, okay. So they're not trading Jimmy, they're not trading Bam, they're not trading Harrow, they're probably not trading Duncan.
Then who are they
I would
trading?
say they're also not going to trade Dragic. So what I would say, well, first of all, he's going to be a free agent, so his value is super low. What you're getting with Victor Oladipo is a guy who is going to be a free agent at the end of the season. You're basically getting like an all-star defender, really just an all-star. He's returned to that all-star form this year, just straight up.
Mm-hmm.
He's returned to that pretty good defender. So if you're the Heat, you're getting another very good defensive guard, which you already kind of have an abundance of. Like, you're getting a guy at shooting guard who's a defensive upgrade over Tyler Herro, for sure. And I would say also an offensive upgrade, just straight up. I would say, but he's also, like, I would say if you're negotiating with the Heat, you can get more because he is going to, more than likely, I would say he's the number one, that's his number one destination this summer anyway. So if he gets traded there, he's probably going to re-sign there. Right? Would you agree?
I mean, yeah. I mean, the Heat had so much cap money saved up because they were ready for Giannis, and then he re-signed, so they have the money to spend.
Yeah. Yeah. But I would say if you're the Rockets, you're probably demanding a decent package from the Heat. Definitely a better package from them than anywhere else because he's probably you're not just trading. This isn't just like a deadline move like Andre Drummond was last year where you get like a second rounder and two very low end bench players. You're getting something better in return because he's probably going to re-sign there, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. The only thing that like I don't know if that works in NBA trade circles. Like, you can't say, like, we want more from you because he might re-sign there. I feel like the Heat aren't dumb enough to trade on him, maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's, but I think it is a decent bargaining chip if you're saying that, because normally I would agree with that, but he is, like, that's basically his rumored destination. Like, if you were trading for, like, if Anthony Davis was in the last year of his contract with the Pelicans and he wanted to go to the Lakers anyway, I think that the Pelicans are probably getting less of a haul. They got that big haul because Anthony Davis still had like 2 years left. And he was able to sign an extension this year, but he couldn't. He was a restricted free agent, I think, right?
I don't think he was restricted because he was off his rookie contract by that point, right?
Maybe not, but
because he had already signed his extension.
Oh yeah, he was like the big free agent. So yeah, he was gonna be. But it's also Anthony Davis versus Victor Oladipo.
Yeah, that's very different.
Yeah.
I don't. The only thing though is we got to be careful because I feel like Vic is one of those dudes that could seriously overvalue himself in free agency.
Oh, he is definitely going to. Yeah. He's gonna expect a team to give him $95 million to $110 range, and he's just not that.
Yeah,
that's part of the reason that the Pacers trade him, because they were gonna give him like $100 million extension, and he turned it down.
Yeah.
So they realized that kind of all was lost, so they just traded him.
And honestly, I'm happy with what they got back. They did well.
Yeah, I am too. I'm glad that we got some picks in LeVert, because LeVert actually wants to be here. He's on a cheaper contract. And then like we saw with Cassius, if it's a pretty deep draft, you can get a guy who's a really good project, a good G League guy.
Yeah.
In the second round.
Yeah. I don't know. But back to the Heat. Honestly, this is tough for me to say because I feel like you're not getting Vic back without possibly trading Duncan Robinson. But I don't know if the Heat want to do that. Because again, like even if they do trade for him, and even though the Heat are like the most likely destination for Vic, there is still that chance that he either changes his mind or just decides like, oh, I want to go to this other team because they offer me more money or something like that, you know?
I would say it's got to be not Duncan Robinson. Like Kendrick Nunn in a first would probably do it, and I think that's what the Heat would give up.
Kendrick Nunn would fit really well with the Rockets because he's another guy that's
he would. And he's like the 6th or 7th guy for the Heat right now.
Yeah.
Just when everybody's healthy. Obviously, he's been getting more minutes because everybody is not healthy.
Yeah.
But like once the playoffs start, like you don't need Kendrick Nunn. We saw it last year. You don't need Kendrick Nunn to be successful. Yeah. He would fit with the Rockets pretty well. And then you would also have to give up a first-round pick, which like this year it might be really, really good because the Heat have been so bad. But I still think the Heat can turn it around, especially if they get a guy like Oladipo.
Well, even if the Heat are bad right now, if they trade a pick for Oladipo, they're going to get better. Like, that record's going to go
exactly.
up.
Like, it's that Stephen A. Smith, Kwame Brown thing came back this week because it was, like, the 10-year anniversary of that trade or something. And it was, like, he made good points. He was like, if you trade, a bona fide scrub and
so
2 first-round picks, because it was like Pau Gasol, right? It was the Pau Gasol trade, right? Or something like that, because or Lamar Odom maybe, because they were giving up Kwame Brown, and then they also gave up 2 first-round picks. But he was like, if you're contending, you don't need those first-round picks. Like, they're not going to be good first-round picks anyway.
I just like the clever. He's like, do you think they gave up too many picks? Like, you're giving up Kwame Brown. Of course they didn't give up too much. I feel bad.
You're getting rid of Kwame Brown.
Kwame Brown does not deserve this.
Kwame Brown, can you imagine being Kwame Brown and like that comes back like every year at the same time?
Yeah. I mean, it's like the same clips every year. Like that clip with Kwame Brown always comes up. Then that clip of like old Greg Oden and some old lady's like, do you play in the NBA? And he's like, no, I used to though. Then he looks all sad. That clip comes up like every single year.
Oh, I've never seen that one.
Really? Oh, dude, he's like,
sad, though. I don't want to see it.
He's essentially like, I think he's walking on a campus or something, and he's got an OSU shirt on, and then some old lady comes up to him, and she's like, "Oh, you're really tall. Do you play in the NBA?" And he's like, "No, I used to though." And then he walks away, and he looks really sad. Greg Oden deserved better.
Yeah, he did. But yeah, so I would say that Kendrick Nunn in a first would probably be, I mean, especially if you're the Heat and you're pretty good, like you're getting good value back, and Oladipo is probably going to re-sign with you. And then if you're the Rockets, you get good value back and you get a good young player and a potentially decently high pick.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of things that could be done because, I mean, for all we know, the Rockets might not care where Vic wants to get traded. They might just trade where they get the best package, and that could be a team like, I don't know.
It might be New York.
Yeah, it might be New York. Maybe the Bucks try to buy low or something. I don't know, just for the playoffs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of possibilities.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't think about that. That is a good point.
Yeah. And then the last thing I had written down was the Raptors turning it around. They are the 7th seed right now at 10-12. They're tied with the Hawks at the 6th seed. They started out the season like horrible, but they've been picking it up recently, and they had a big win over the Nets because Pascal kind of torched Jeff Green.
Yeah, they look good. It was wishful thinking to say that the Raptors weren't going to... I mean, I even like the Raptors, but, like, if a team is below the Pacers and they're playing poorly, I want them to stay doing that.
Yeah.
It was like I want the Pacers to be the 5 or the 4 seed this year, maybe.
Yeah.
And, that's not going to happen if Toronto's pretty good. But regardless, or if Toronto and Boston are both very good, which, like... But Toronto's... Yeah, you're right. They're definitely turning it around.
Yeah. I think I didn't think about this until like 2 seconds ago, but it was probably just an adjustment period to having to play in Tampa. Because I completely forgot that they're playing in Tampa right now.
Yeah, you got to adjust to the humidity. Yeah. Your family is not really there all the time.
That completely, like, even earlier, I remember when we were talking about how the Raptors are really struggling, I just completely forgot they're playing in Tampa right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're playing well, though. They turned it around. I saw, like, Freddie had that, like, 40-some point game or whatever.
He had 54.
Yeah, 54. And then DeMar tweeted out, like, old-ass Kyle Lowry couldn't do that. Good for you, champ. And I felt so sad. Yeah. Those tweets still get you every time, man.
Yeah. Yeah, they're good. They're definitely going to make the playoffs. Pascal's also playing well. Pascal gets a lot of really unnecessary hate because people just don't look at his game outside. Like, every time he does a spin move, people lose their minds.
Spinny P, baby.
The spin move is effective. I don't get why people meme it so much.
The reason is because, like, it's a similar thing to Paul George, but to a lesser extent because it's only happened 1 year to Pascal, where he just got completely shut down, and the spin move didn't work, and he kept doing it against the Celtics.
Yeah, but people do it to Julius Randle, too. Like, it's a very weird, like, thing to dislike because people wouldn't do the spin move if it was ineffective. It's a fucking move. Like, can you imagine if people were like, "Oh, Mr. Crossover over here."
Mr.
Like,
Step Back, Luka, find a new move.
Yeah, come on, dude. Like, if it works, it works. I don't really understand why
the reason
spin move is like the thing that NBA fans just chose to hate.
Because the Celtics shut down Pascal in the playoffs.
Yeah, they did, but like the Raptors shut down Giannis and nobody was calling him Mr. Box and One. Like,
I mean, people. You see how many people were agreeing with James Harden when he said Giannis's game takes no skill.
Well, that's true.
I'm saying, like, the NBA fans are very bipolar.
Yeah. That's true. All right, is that it?
I think that's it. Yeah, we kept it under an hour. That's good.
Good.
But yeah, remember to, if you made it this far, thank you, by the way. Remember to subscribe, like the video if you want to. Our individual channels are in the description. Podcast Twitter and email are in the description. And Aiden's article is in the description. Oh, I just almost dropped my mic. That's bad. But yeah, do all that stuff, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.